welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a great time networking. I know many of you come for the networking and stay for the content, so we really appreciate you coming back. Now, I'm going to say something that may surprise you. Did you know that only half of AppNexus resources are focusing on the publisher side of our business? So everything you heard today, all of the innovation, rethinking, reimagining the publisher monetization stack is only half of what we've been working on. And in fact, I think what we've been doing on the buy side of the business may actually be more innovative than what we've been doing on the sell side. Now, I can only say that because I think Tom left to go to another event. And he's taller than me, so I've got to be careful. So what we're going to talk about for the next few minutes is innovation on the buy side, meaning innovation for marketers. Now, this reminds me of something I heard at dinner a couple of weeks ago. I went to a dinner with Nate Lubin, who ran all of Obama's election advertising, really, in the 2008 cycle. And many people say that Obama won that election partially because of his extraordinary use of digital marketing. And what Nate really broke this problem down to was there's only 3 objectives for a campaign when they're doing marketing. One is to get registered Democrats, in his case, to give money and to volunteer. So you're trying to get existing customers to take action and write checks. 2 is you're trying to make sure those people actually get out and vote in key states. So in battleground states, it's not actually as important in many cases to convince people, is to make sure that everyone gets to the polls and votes. And the third, and in some ways the least important, was to actually change the minds of the 2 or 3% of people in swing states who are undecided. Because the truth is, there's not that many people out there who are undecided at that point. I thought that was a really interesting way of talking about the problem set. I think it's very similar to what many marketers are facing. There's a big chunk of your business which is just talking to your customers. There's a smaller chunk that's looking at how do I find new customers. But at the end of the day, everything that he was talking about was how do I achieve marketing outcomes that I can measure, or at least that we in aggregate measure by electing a president or a candidate. And since we're only 364 days from our next presidential election, we're going to hear a lot about these things. What struck me, though, was that when we started to talk about how to actually do these things, the conversation changed dramatically. Because the truth is that we in this room and in this microcosm of the industry, what we spend a lot of time talking about is how. Not how to achieve the marketing goals, but how to make the technology work. How do we deal with things like fraud or viewability or transparency? And by the time we spend an entire day at one of these events talking about those things, we've forgotten to speak about what marketers actually care about, which is how to influence consumer behavior. And so at AppNexus, we've challenged ourselves to do both. On one side, to reduce the friction that makes it hard to use programmatic for marketers. There's only 3 things we have to do to get that friction to go away. One is we have to address fraud. As you all know, over the past few months, AppNexus has made a massive effort to clean up our marketplace. We've rolled out AppNexus Spend Protection, which means that for any buyer, you will only pay if the impression is verified as clean of any bot or fraud or other bad behavior by Double Verify or Integral Ad Science. That's a critical part of our promise to marketers. You don't have to worry about fraud anymore. Number 2, viewability. All marketers I talk to, all CMOs say the same thing. I don't want to pay for ads that no one looks at. I think that's reasonable. So one question to ask ourselves is, why isn't viewed impressions the currency for the whole industry? Why does anyone pay for ads that they don't see? And I know your argument in the newspaper, I'm not sure if people actually turn the page. On TV, I don't know if you're in the bathroom. Well, guess what? The whole point of digital advertising is it's supposed to be better. And I believe we can deliver that. And so AppNexus yesterday announced that we will allow any buyer who wants to pay only for viewed impressions. And as Tom mentioned earlier, our publisher suite now allows publishers to predict viewability and to offer viewable deals where the publisher only transacts when impressions are viewable. So we can actually create a new currency for the whole industry and put this to bed. And the third challenge that marketers face is transparency. I think we all deal with this concern every day. We've all seen the burn down charts where it says for every dollar you invest in digital, 1.2 cents ends up with the publisher. And there's 406 middlemen. Now, I'm exaggerating. However, it's time for that myth to be dispelled. We all can provide full, transparent accounting of where the money goes. We can work together to get rid of the spaghetti mess of cords that I showed you earlier that requires us to plug in and integrate and have leakage through the whole ecosystem. And, like AppNexus, we can all offer fully transparent business models if we so choose. So with those three things, we can eliminate all of the friction that marketers are concerned about and get back to what I think really matters, delivering real results for marketers. But I believe that we don't have the right tools to do that. We talked earlier about how DFP isn't the right tool anymore for publishers to maximize the value of their content. I believe that for buyers, this idea of a campaign-based system for putting impressions and creatives together is no longer going to be effective. For anyone here who's a marketer or works with marketers, how many marketers do you think have fewer than 10,000 customers? Maybe some B2B guys. But in general, most marketers have more than 10,000 customers. How many people set up more than 10,000 campaigns in their bidding platforms? I'm going to guess very few. So we are definitely not setting up our platforms to address every single customer that we want to target. And that means that we're not delivering personalized experiences. We're not delivering on the one-to-one promise that programmatic was supposed to give us. And you know what? Campaigns just aren't going to scale to where we need them to be able to actually produce that truly personalized experience. Imagine if every time I bump into someone, I say the exact same thing. Hey, great to see you. How you doing? Been a long time. And my wife's like, okay, honey, I saw you this morning. You know, it's very effective at a conference, by the way. You have to have a different message for every audience. That's a silly example. But the truth is, we have that technology today. And we have this technology to work across video, across mobile, across native, across social. There's absolutely no reason that anyone should ever see an ad that doesn't have him or her in mind. And we can deliver that. But we need a new paradigm. I believe that new paradigm is what we call the AppNexus programmable bidder. Instead of using campaigns to decide how to align ads to consumers, we actually use algorithms, models. That probably scared about half of you. But you know what? They're not that scary. They make a ton of sense. If existing customer, then show an ad that reflects our relationship. Else, say, hey, let me tell you about my product. These are simple. You can make them much more complicated. But writing simple algorithms is something we do every single day. There's one on my fridge for my daughter who claims she can't read it, but it says, eat breakfast, put on clothes, no whining, leave school by 8:15. Now, she's like, I can't read it, but that's just convenient. These are not complicated things I'm talking about, but we can all do them. And if we work together, we can change the paradigm of this industry to a algorithmic, a model-driven world. Most marketers are there. When I worked with American Express in 2000, 15 years ago, they had a massive data science team that did exactly this. Every piece of direct mail that you get from American Express is based on algorithms. Every time you call American Express and talk to their call center, algorithms. They have refined exactly what to say to you. Their entire website, algorithmically driven. Everything we do on the internet, just about, is driven by algorithms, except marketing, except programmatic marketing. That was the entire point. So for the rest of our session, for the next hour, we're going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about reducing friction by allowing viewability to be the currency for the marketplace. We're going to talk about video, because I believe video is the best storytelling medium that we as humans have access to today. And third, we're going to talk about how to use algorithms and models to dramatically enhance how we can address our customers and our prospects. I hope you're excited as I am about what this means for the future of our industry.